had a great time with the audience here in Austin, in our training center, and the people at home that just and in the office. Awesome questions, really engaged audience. Today we're getting together again to do things like remove obstacles, to inspire you to execute on this particular project, because one of the things people asked for was accountability, and that they wanted to get things done in their business. And I want to start with a quick review. This is an execution cycle, and the execution cycle that we started on 10/24.
Should we see anything on your screen right now?
Yeah, you should.
Maybe I just don't. Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully you're seeing my screen, and I think it's your fault. Oh wait, now it's gone. They said.
There we go. There it is.
There we go. Okay, cool. So this is what a 10-day execution cycle looks like, and along the bottom you see the important dates for this execution cycle. Yesterday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, that's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central, we did the workshop, the live workshop, and that recording is available now, Kevin, see?
See, it is. It is up there in the same tab, and actually a quick little update. Going forward, we may help simplify this whole process with getting on these office hours calls to have it all in that same portal. So just a little heads up on some exciting new things we're doing.
Parlez-vous français, Kevin?
So as far as like this office hours call, the way we did the live stream yesterday, with it being inside the members area, we're looking to streamline that with these calls and have everything in one place. That way we're not having all these different tools and things that you're having to register for and stuff like that. So I am working with our team to help simplify and make this a little bit even easier for everyone to consume.
But you don't speak French. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that was what I was trying to say. I'm sorry. I do not speak the Frenches.
All right. Whatever. Okay, so today is 10:25. You see along the bottom there. We have 1 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern. We have office hours. Then from 10:26, starting really after this call, but certainly tomorrow through Halloween here in the States, you should be masterminding. So use the Digital Marketer Lab Elite Facebook group to post, your work in there. Ask me questions. I will try to get in there once a day and troll through there for questions and critiques and things like that. But then on 11/1, we're going to get together again and do elite critiques. So I'm going to go through other people's work and critique that work on a webinar on 11/1. And then 11/3 is the day you really should be putting down in your calendar as, sort of D-Day for this project. It's time to hit the publish button on this project. And if you remember yesterday, I asked you to promise me that you would be willing to do that. And I'll tell you, you already promised. And so I'm going to be a really juvenile about it and just be like, but you promised me. Kind of like my daughter does to me when I promise her something. So I really want you guys to get this project out there to the world, even if it's not completely 100% perfect. I want it shipped. Seth Godin, I think, coined this term shipping. And it's really important in business that you're able to ship. If you can't put something out there, I remember, Kevin, I used to, when I was a freelancer, I used to go in and go to this networking event that was for authors. and pick up customers from there, and pick up author customers. And one of the saddest things I remember was this girl had written this book, but she had never let anybody else read it. And it was all she had written it out by hand. And she had it all stored in her house and on loose leaf paper and all in a big binder and things like that, but no one else on the earth had ever seen it. And I thought that was really sad. I tried to encourage her all the time, like, let someone read it. Let the world see the work. And I think that's one of the biggest holdups a lot of times in business, especially when it comes to content marketing, is people just don't want to put it out there. They feel like they're going to be judged if they put it out there. And what I really want to inspire you to press the publish button, get your work out there, get it out there for other people to see and for it to do some work for your business.
Yeah.
I want to go back over the diagnostic tool too, Kevin, that I brought up, and remind you that, some of you on this call love this painting and some of you on this call don't. And some of you are just kind of meh about this painting. And it's hard to kind of figure out why. I love this painting, but why? Why do I love it? What is it about this painting that draws me to it? And in order to do that, you have to be able to break this painting and artwork, paintings into its component parts and judge it by those parts. That's how you are able to assess subjective matter like art. So, things like the materials used to make this painting, the composition of it, the line and shape, the color, the brushwork. There are things in here that just make me really, really love that painting. And the same is true for your blog post. You have to be able to break. You look at your blog post and you're just like, Sean says that painting has exorcist written all over it. But when you look at a blog post and you're just like, that blog post is spectacular, that blog post is terrible, that blog post is just kind of meh. Why? Why is it? Because if you can break it into its pieces of what makes it good or bad, you're able to then improve it. And so what I encourage you to do is, look through this 10-point blog post audit. It's in DM Lab Elite, in the section where the recordings are for the workshop yesterday. You can download this blog post audit. And it's good to know what you're building, and build towards excellence. And in my opinion, in digital marketers' opinion, if you can hit all 10 of these and make them 4s, you're going to have a really successful piece. So the diagnostic tool is something that we're going to use during the Elite Critique. And so you'll see this again, and kind of create your piece as you're going into the step 11 of digging the ditch, and actually writing this thing right towards this diagnostic tool. Keep things in mind, like, as my introduction, hitting a 4 on this? Is the consumption hitting a 4? Is there a goal? Is the media clean and clear? And read through this thing again before you're writing it, and then maybe even after you're writing it, go ahead and score it and see if you can improve it even before we get together and do Elite Critiques. All right, so you have this thing called the Pillar Post Builder. It is also in Lab Elite in that workshop page, and it's it walks you through. It's a 12-step system for creating a pillar post. We all walked through it yesterday in the workshop. If you haven't, you can watch the recording. And there was a part in here where I was like, I'm going to come back to this on office hours. I want to spend more time on it, and I actually have seen a few people ask questions about the SEO of the post and things like that. So I'm going to go through more of that right now. For blog post SEO, in order to get a 4 on our rubric, I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to be wanting you to look for, when you score your post on the Elite Critique, a title tag that uses the keyword and is kept to around 60 characters. Okay, so the title tag uses the keyword and it's kept to around 60 characters. The slug, that means the extension, as you can see out here, this is called the slug. And the slug uses the keyword, and in my opinion, a slug should not have other words in it. I like to use very short, compact slugs that only include my keyword phrase. I think it's cleaner, and it's a little bit of a pet peeve. If you're already, don't go in there changing all your slugs that you've already published unless you know what you're doing, all right? Unless you know how to use 301 redirects and all that stuff, and even then I still wouldn't do it. But from here on out, if you want to follow the way I do things, nice tight slugs that just include the keyword. Meta description, use the keyword, be persuasive, all right? The meta description, I'm going to show you where these are used in a minute, but you need to be persuasive in your meta description because it's part of the search engine results page that people are looking at, and people read that and to try to decide whether they should take the time to click on your result. So we want this thing to be persuasive and kept us 160 characters or so, or less. The body of your post should use the keyword and variations of your keyword early in introduction, in subheadings, and anywhere else it is natural in the post. Don't force the keyword. Don't stuff your post all full of keywords so that it reads like junk, all right? Always err on the side of your reader and the UX of your site visitor. And then number 5 is cross-linking, that you found opportunities to link to your pillar posts from other pages on your website. So find other blog posts that should link to your pillar post. They have similar, that the reader would benefit if they left that post or read your pillar post next after they read that, right? Or maybe even should read it before they read the post that they're on. So find other posts, other pages on your website where you can link to your pillar post. Remember that one of the things Google's trying to figure out from an SEO standpoint is what's important. What is important? And the amount of times that you link to your pillar post from your own website helps them determine what you think is important on your website. So if you have something that is, 3 levels deep in your navigation, it's going to get less importance from Google. Like Google's going to be like, well, this is 3 levels deep. There's not a ton of other pages linking to this page. But your top level navigation, if we go to digitalmarketer.com, let's do that for just a quick second so I can explain a little bit about this. I'm going to go to digitalmarketer.com. And you can see like this top level navigation is, site-wide. And so it's linked, these pages, according to Google, are going to be the most important pages on this site. Your home page plus all of these pages because they're getting the most internal linking. But a page that's 2 levels deep, like I got to click on blog, and then once I get to blog, I got to go a second click into this post. This one, for example. That's a little bit less important page because it has less links pointing at it. Okay, so even your own internal linking structure will help determine where this post should rank. So find opportunities to link to your pillar post from other pages on your own website, and you'll help Google to know that that's a very important page on your site. So look at this. This is the Yoast SEO plugin. I don't even think Yoast owns this anymore. I think somebody bought it from him or something, but I might be wrong about that.
And Russ,
so you can download it.
Just so I'm clear, I'm getting a few questions here. The slide deck that you're using right now is from yesterday, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it is, I just want to make sure everybody knows that this slide deck is available under the live stream in the members area where all the downloads were for you. So you can go download those.
No, that's not 100% true, because what I have done is added to that slide deck, since you probably have updated it there, Kevin. So you might want to.
Russ. Okay, so then I will get the updated one and send it to everybody, and I'll get it updated in the portal for everybody too.
Yeah, I've added this office hours material, and it's at the end of the slide deck that I used yesterday.
Gotcha. Perfect.
The Yoast SEO plugin is something that can plug into WordPress, and it's pretty standard. Pretty much everyone that's using an SEO plugin is using this Yoast plugin. So yeah, you install it on WordPress just like any other plugin. And what you do is you come in here and you tell it the keyword that you're looking to rank for, and it does some cool stuff. Like you can edit your SEO title tag. It populates your slug in here, and then it shows you the meta description in here, and you can write a meta description in here. It also gives you can see that I have a lot more characters that I could use in my title tag for this post if I wanted to. But I am very happy with the length of that title tag. And then you can see it also shows you a snippet of what does your, in the search results pages on Google, what would it look like? What would this post look like? So you can see the title tag. This is where your title tag gets shown in Google. In the next slide, I can show you, this is Google. Okay, so when you Google blog post ideas, for example, and you find our result, you're going to find ultimate list of blog post ideas. You can see my keyword right there in the title tag. You can see it in the slug. You can see it in the meta description. And the meta description is trying to be persuasive, looking for blog post ideas, get inspiration from dozens of blog post ideas, and download a mind map version to pin to your wall. So what I'm trying to do is sell somebody on clicking on my result and reading my post in the meta description. And you can edit all of that using the Yoast plugin, which looks like this when you install it. And you might be wondering, like, where does it appear? It appears right where you're writing your post inside of WordPress. If you scroll down below where you're writing your post, you're going to see the Yoast plugin, assuming you have it installed. So review real quick. Title tag, use the keyword, keep it to 60 characters, use the keyword in the slug, use the keyword in the meta description and be persuasive, keep it to 160 characters. Use the keyword in the body early if you can and it makes sense. Use it in subheadings if it makes sense. Use it in the body as many times as it makes sense and is natural to do so. Don't stuff the keyword. And then once you're finished and you publish this piece, spend some time cross-linking to it from other places around your site to increase the level of importance of that page. You could even, put something like a start here in your main navigation. If you felt like that pillar post was the place that anybody that ever visited your site should start here, you could even put it up in your main nav, which would give it tremendous importance, right? Every page would be linking to that start here page. All right, so that's a little bit more about SEO. And
Russ, I think you dropped out.
as your title tag. It's perfectly fine. And in this case, for example, the ultimate list of blog post ideas is the headline. But there's a lot of cases where you want to trim down, the headline, because the headline might have a lot of little extra things. Like yesterday, I used the word modifiers when I was talking about, so like a speed modifier. Let's say an objection overcoming modifier, right? Those kinds of things, sometimes it's better not to include those things in the title tag. And the reason for that, Scott, and everyone else on the call, is that in your title tag, you want it to read well, right? The ultimate list of blog post ideas. It reads, it sounds like a title or a headline. It's compelling, right? Because remember what it looks like in the Google search results, like this, you want that to read and be compelling, but you may not want all of this other junk in there, like the ultimate list of blog post ideas, and then all this other junk. Instead, you want to keep it nice and tight, and so it's really good to use a plugin like Yoast to override the default behavior of WordPress, which is to just stick the headline in there. But you could do a lot worse than to just let WordPress do its thing and just put your headline in there. I had a question about the call to action in step 2, coming from Cindy. Kev, are you back?
I am. I think I had to switch Wi-Fi for some reason. I dropped out, but I do have a bunch of questions. I'm not sure if you touched on all of these, so if you want to take those at some point, we can go through them.
Yeah, let's go ahead. You can start shooting, and I'll tell you if I already hit them.
Okay, so this one was from Darren. It was a little earlier. I'd love some feedback on my obstacle, marrying up the title with SEO. I have a very good idea of a few potential headlines, but it's the link with SEO and the competition in the area I have a problem with. And then he has a link to his post here. So that's kind of more of a critique, but I don't know if you want to jump into those or answer a few more direct questions.
Fire me that link in Slack, and I'll pull it up, if you don't mind.
Done.
I'm having a little trouble with clicking on GoToWebinar's questions and expanding them, so I can't see long questions like that.
Yeah,
That's why we have multiple people on the calls.
Yep.
So this is a Facebook link?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
I got you.
Yeah, so I guess it's in the actual elite group. And then I have another one.
All right, so
go ahead.
All right, so he says, my end goal is Pillar Post to opt in to offer an analytics course or Splinter. The problem, should the SEO take precedence? One headline suggested was Google Analytics costs. Google Analytics costs you, read to find out why, but no one's probably Googling that. Google Analytics courses, training is probably the keyword I'm aiming for. So what I would probably do here, Darren, I see your conundrum, right? Your headline is that Google Analytics costs you. Read to find out why. First of all, I don't love this language here. It's a little, I don't even know what the word is, but for me, it doesn't read well to me. I would use some more clear language than costs you, but you can still use a threat headline here. You're using a threat headline, and you could still use the headline and say, you could say something like Google Analytics costs you. That's fine, but I would actually change that language up. But then I would say this analytics. You see, your issue is that you're looking to rank this word Google Analytics training for your blog post, and really it should be your training sales page that tries to rank for the term Google Analytics training. So what I would love to know is, like, what are you trying to tell me here in this post? Like, try to get this post to rank for something a little more top of funnel, right? Like mistakes, Google Analytics mistakes, errors in Google Analytics, you know, those kind of keywords. People that are Googling that kind of stuff might ultimately want your training, but this post should not be likely ranking for the word training, because that's not what this post is, right? This post is not your Google Analytics training. Your Google Analytics training is your product, and that's for why your product page should be optimized for the word Google Analytics training. Your post should be optimized for something, you know, going back to step 3 in our pillar post builder here, where you're like, I need my prospect to believe my prospect is researching before they go and buy Google Analytics training. What are they researching? That's what your post should be about, and therefore that's what your post should be optimized for. You know, because the pillar post should be about something that they're researching, some conversation going on in their mind here, and this page here should be the one that's optimized for the word Google Analytics courses and training. I hope that helps. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, well, just a follow-up. He was saying the headline was a suggested one in the group. My main one would be something like how to use Google Analytics and set it up for success whilst avoiding expensive mistakes.
I love the word whilst.
Yeah.
In any headline or in any capacity. But yeah, I think you're onto something there. I would probably, I mean, read that headline again.
How to use Google Analytics and set it up for success whilst avoiding expensive mistakes.
I mean, that is just such a huge promise that I doubt you're going to deliver on in the post. Like, are you really going to show me how to use Google Analytics in this post? Because you could write a gigantic book on how to use Google Analytics. I would look to get more specific, both for two reasons. One, because it's probably going to be more accurate of something that you're going to put into a blog post, but also because you have a really heck of a time ranking for the term how to use Google Analytics. There's just going to be a lot of other things that will outrank you for that. I really don't know how strong your website is, which is a big factor, but you're not going to outrank, for example, Google itself for that term. And it's not like this whole thing is about SEO anyway, but even if just for the first reason, which is more accurately, like, what are you going to show me about Google Analytics in this post? Like, get more specific with me and solve a single big, sort of problem. Get me a little victory in your post, and then move me on to, what is probably the promise of your course, which is how to use Google Analytics, right? Like, you're gonna unravel that, which is much more appropriate and believable that in your course you're going to be telling me about how to use Google Analytics. Can you just give me a little victory in this blog post? Like, is there some aspect of Google Analytics, especially that people are looking for commonly,
right,
that you could get in pretty niche, and really build something better than anything else online about it, right? Like, what if it was setting up e-commerce tracking in Google Analytics, and you built something that was just exhaustive about that and a how-to, right? That's much more specific, and might, help you to get ranked, but also just keep the scope of your post into something a little bit more believable. What else we got?
So we have one from Susan. Says, I am number 1 on Google for my primary niche. Can you let me know how this impacts SEO for my prime post?
So, being number 1 for a particular blog post, I mean, like, if you're, the only thing it does to affect that other page, like, let me just show you. I'm going to set something up while I'm explaining this to show you what I mean. I'm going to go into Moz and log in here. But yeah, the short answer is when you publish a brand new post, it's going to have basically no what we call page authority, right? Like that page is going to have very little to zero authority. So your other rankings, really aren't a factor. That said, whatever it is that Google thinks your site is about. For example, there's a guy named John Loomer out there who does a lot of stuff around Facebook advertising, and his entire website is about Facebook advertising. That's all he writes about every single day. And so Google thinks of his site as having high domain authority for the term, anything around Facebook advertising, anything semantically connected to the words Facebook advertising. Now, he can rank pretty easily for just about anything these days that comes out about Facebook advertising because he's got high domain authority for that area. But if he was to go in there and publish a blog post about how to make great pad thai, he wouldn't rank for that, okay, because he has zero domain authority around recipes, food, anything like that. He would never outrank something like allrecipes.com or foodnetwork.com. So one thing to keep in mind that comes up when you talk about your question is just your domain authority. Like, what is your site about? And helping Google to understand, like, this is what this site is about. That's why for example, about.com used to be a site that ranked for a lot of things, and it was about.com. It was about all kinds of things. Like, you'd be just as likely to find an article on about.com that was about how to build a great campfire as you would be about how to write a resume. And that site got smacked really, really hard during one of the Google updates. For a lot of reasons, but one of them was just because it wasn't about anything. It was about everything. And there is an argument for knowing what your site is about and keeping your content sort of wound tight around these subjects, because it will help your domain authority for that subject matter. I was going to pull up Moz, but I don't think it's necessary. I think I covered it actually pretty well. Your new post will come with domain authority, but in terms of page authority, the authority of that individual page is going to start just like all other pages do, as an infant, and it has to prove itself. It has to pick up links. It needs to pick up social shares. It needs to pick up internal links from your own site in order for Google to understand that, hey, this page has authority. What else you got?
So let's see. We have some questions about the grading element in that audit. So one is, can you talk a little bit more about the headline grading element under exceptional, where you say using as many words as necessary? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, the grading criteria for a headline includes this idea of doing what I call tight writing, T-I-G-H-T, making sure that you're using as many words as you need, but none more. One of the best ways to improve a headline is just by making it tighter. And in fact, really any editing that you're doing, whether it's on a blog post or a sales letter or email or anything, one of the things that you should be doing is figuring out how to use less words to say the same thing. And that's what that means. You should not cut words that you need, but you should cut words that you don't need And there's a little bit of a skill to that you can develop as you work on these things. Like, is there a tighter way to structure this headline or this sentence or this subject line so that I use less words? Because it's, tight writing especially online is super important.
Sweet. So this one I think is kind of more of a critique of the blog title from yesterday. So
Yeah.
It's from Blossom. I missed yesterday's session. Here's my blog title. So it's throw a stress-free first birthday party that is memorable with this checklist.
Okay, so benefit headline. Say again, stress-free?
Stress-free first birthday party that is memorable with this checklist. Yep.
Yeah, and that's a fine headline. Throw a stress-free first birthday party. So that's benefit. And then the checklist speaks a little bit to speed, speaks a little bit to ease of use. So I like that. I sometimes write this headline, Blossom, and anybody else more like this. I'll say checklist. So, and I'll put it in brackets like that. It kind of catches the eye because that's a sexy part of what you're talking about. And then you might even try a call out. You might say, if you're gearing this straight towards mothers, for example, you say, moms, throw a stress-free first birthday. All right, so there's your benefit right there, and this is a call out, and then this is a little extra something to communicate speed and ease of use. And this is why let me show you guys how I write headlines, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this. Like, I open a text doc or a Word doc, and Kevin will laugh because he knows that I always use text docs. I hate Word docs.
Yep.
And I hate when people send me Word docs.
You definitely hate.
I really hate when you send me something in Pages.
Everyone should send their documents to Russ in Pages so he can just scream.
But what I'll do is I'll sit here with something like this, and I'll start monkeying around with this thing, right? Like, I'll take this and then I copy it, and I'm like, okay, how can I improve this thing? And I might go in here and say, well, let's take this out, and let's try something like, hey, Mom, and then I might throw a modifier on here, like, if I know that in my thing, I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about budget, I might throw an objection modifier in there, and then take this, and I might be like, yeah, that looks kind of good, like, and then I copy it again, and I start looking at every single word, because every one of these words has to earn its way into the headline. And I'll kind of set a time limit and give myself permission to keep working on this headline for a certain amount of time, and then I ship it, because we're producing a lot of content. If this was a print sales letter, I was going to go and buy 100,000 pieces and mail them all over the country and everything. I'd probably spend days on the headline. But for a blog post like this, a pillar post, I'd probably give myself a half hour to sit here and give myself permission. I oftentimes will set my iPhone out there, put on some music, and set a timer. And I don't do anything else. I give myself the space that I need for this headline. And by the end of it, it'll look more like this. I'll have something that looks like this in a bunch of headlines, and then I might even throw it over to Ryan or Rich or Justin or somebody to get some feedback. Like, what do you think? Can you plus that? And so, you get people that you know, or people in Lab Elite, that you can jump in and say, what do you think about this headline? And, I spent about a half hour on it. Any way you can plus it, help me plus it. But, if you go through and you start looking at that section on writing headlines and you look at your modifiers, it starts to become pretty easy to, I'll find that for you real quick here, guys. This is what I do. This is why I set it up this way, is to start looking at, once I've got a benefit headline, for example, or a threat headline as a base, I'll start going in here and adding modifiers in here. Like, let's try it completely naked. How to throw a stress-free first birthday. That's pretty naked. But if I go in and niche it, like, how could I add a niche to this as an angle? Should I build this for every mom in the world, or should I just build it for working moms? Maybe that's a better angle to try. And I try something like that with a call out, and I go niche, and then I go sort of benefit there. But that's how I write headlines, and I wish I could say that there was just some easy way of doing it, but it's not. And you actually get better and stronger and faster at this stuff. What else we got?
So we got another kind of following that vein, another feedback for their title. So we have 47 tips for caregivers to avoid sibling squabbles about their elderly parents' finances. It's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm. This is one that I would try to figure out how to tighten it up if possible, because I got 47 tips for caregivers. Okay, so I've got a list post. I've got a call out here, so you're sort of dog whistling out caregivers. And you're giving me tips on how to avoid sibling squabbling about your parents' finances. And I would be looking at how to tighten this up a little bit and get a little more pain in here, right? I hate to say it, but there's a lot of pain, I can tell you, because my mom went through a sibling squabbling when her parents passed away. And I think you're not connecting the dots. I think we talked about this yesterday with a couple people. Like, connect the dots for me. Like, what is happening here? Why? What is? And I know you're saying squabbling, but I would try to rework this headline a little bit, tighten it up. I love the fact that you're calling out the caregivers, but it may not be necessary if you can find the exact pain point that we're really going through here. Like, is it destroy? I mean, in my mom's case, and in some cases, it destroyed relationships in her family. It kind of destroyed that side of the family for a couple of years. Can you really dig in on that pain point rather than, this doesn't sound, I hate to say this sounds mean, but it doesn't sound painful enough to me for what you're really talking about. Remember Perry Marshall talks a lot about this sort of bleeding neck, right? When you have a bleeding neck issue like this one, go ahead and talk to it, because it's the conversation that's going on in their mind. I don't want to destroy the relationships in my family, or I'm already in the middle of a destructive path, right? Can you really dig on that a little bit? Is this headline, could you publish this headline? Absolutely. This headline is better than 90% of the headlines out there. But how I would make it better is try to dig a little harder on really what the pain point is, connect the dots a little bit more. What else you got? These are great. These are really great questions, by the way.
Let's see.
Not that they're bad questions, but
how do you store the headline variations after you create them?
I don't. I mean, I have all, like, I use text docs almost like paper. Some people sit there and scribble on paper. I scribble on text docs. So I don't need, all I need is this last one. You know, if this is the one I finally settle on, then I'll just go like this. Don't save, close. And then I copy this guy here and put him into WordPress and off to the races. And today, you know, I've got people that are writing headlines already, and so they've already done this for a half hour, and so they come to me last, and they're like, hey, have a look at this. And I'll come back and say, like, well, have you considered this angle, you know? And a lot of times when you're an editor like that and you're looking at things, like, you have to read the post. Because when you read the post, you're like, wait a minute, guys, like, there's a speed angle in here, and you didn't include it in the headline. There's an ease of use angle in here, and you didn't include it in the headline. There's an objection overcoming type thing, or let's try curiosity on this because, you know, this angle or that, right? And so, but at the end of the day, you don't need all these modifications. You just need the last one, the one that you went with. Of course, you could, you know, use some plugins and stuff like that to split test different headlines, and we've done that. Here, but we don't do that anymore. We kind of just go with a headline and ship it.
Cool. And I have a few other ones. I know we're running up against the clock. I just want to make sure we get into. So Gennaro was asking, he said you would talk a little bit more about siloing on this call.
Gennaro, you reminded me. Thank you. We're building a project right now, and this is an internal document at DM, and so it's not all pretty or anything. Let me see if I can. So the concept of siloing is an SEO concept that's as old as the internet. There's a guy named Bruce Clay way back in the 90s that started talking about the fact that, just like I was talking about with domain authority before, your site should be set up in such a way that Google can tell that, you know, over here in this side of your site, all these pages are about peanut butter. Okay, like all these pages over here, if each one of these cells represents a page, all of those pages are generally about peanut butter, while all of these pages are about jelly. And if Google can tell and understand that, and all of these pages are like cross-linked together and sort of married together in what we call a silo, then not only will your domain get authority for, let's say, Facebook ads or, you know, Thai food recipes, but also internal sections of your site will get authority for certain things, right? Like peanut butter or jelly. Now, luckily, if you're using a good, solid CMS or content management system like WordPress, WordPress does this for you, don't they? When you go and create a blog category called peanut butter, and you click that box, it creates a siloed group of pages. This is why SEO people love WordPress, because they do little things like earlier I talked about the default behavior is putting the headline into the SEO title tag. The other thing that WordPress does really, really well is it silos your content for you. By, you know, if you use categories in your blog, then you are creating silos, right? That's why categorization is important. So if you're looking at my screen now, you're going to see that we're getting ready to roll out a pretty ambitious project, which is to get this page, this 0 page, to rank for the term digital marketing. Now, we've got to overtake some pretty strong competitors to do that, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to put out something that's 10 times better than any of them have. This resource is going to be about 45,000 words. It's already written. It's going to go live if you keep an eye on it in the next couple of weeks. And the way siloing works is you want to have a 0 page, and then everything underneath it is supporting this 0 page, right? So 1.0 links back up to 0, 3.0 links back up to 0, 4.0 links back up to 0. And so you can see that the topic of these pages, the first one is broadly about digital marketing, and the way we're going to support that is with a page that has a title tag of your digital marketing strategy, right? Then I'm going to have another page. This should say 2.0. I took a page out, but content marketing. I'm going to rank this page for content marketing strategy as a keyword phrase. This is my title tag. This is my slug, right? And everything's linking back up to my 0 page, trying to get this page the most exposure and authority, and creating a silo of everything in this little section of our site should be known for being fundamental and beginner's guide stuff for digital marketing. And if I can do that, then I'll be able to, and I can do a few other things like get some solid links to this page, get some good social sharing going on this page, and get some other things. Within a few months, I think we should be able to own this keyword. And the same thing is true for your pillar post. So if you were going to try to rank your pillar post for, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the term, you're going to want to build pages, sub-pages that support that, right? So you're going to want to build pages about listicle, like 101 types of jelly. You're going to want to build pages that support this page, that link back up to your pillar. So, I mean, that's siloing in a nutshell, and it's a really simple concept. It's not tricking the search engine at all, and it's what worked back in the 90s and the early 2000s, and then and it's still what works today. It's about siloing your content. Think about how Shopify works, or any e-commerce site. Right? They have your homepage, and then you might click on men's, right? So if you're looking for men's shoes, you might click on men's, and then you click on men's shoes, and you get taken into a category page that has all kinds of men's shoes, right? And the same thing's happening there, and that's why people love Shopify too, is because it creates a really siloed architecture of your website. And so when you're thinking about your pillar posts, think about your pillar post as the 0 page, but build, and chances are you already have content that will support your pillar, so cross-link over to it. And we kind of hit that in earlier when we were talking about cross-linking, which is to say, find places that make sense to link to your pillar post and then cross-link over to it. So anyway, keep an eye on this, and if you want, like when you see us launch out this beginner's guide, go and really check it out and kind of click through it and see how I set it up, because everything that I've done really with it is pretty intentional. All right, let's take a couple more, and then we'll call this, and I'll try to get into the Facebook group so you guys can move stuff in there. Page position is just page position on this sheet is just a way for me to communicate to everybody on the project, like once I get this back from Dev, for example, I'll say, hey, the 4.0 page, I need this change, right? It also indicates to me where it is in terms of the architecture. The 0 page is the top level of this silo, and the 1.0 page links to the 0 page. When you create really crazy large silos, I could have a 1.1 page that actually lives inside of the 1.0 page. So SEO people use this to, 1, indicate architecture, and 2, communicate across different teams, like what page am I referring to? Where do I need to change? Like, what's the problem? Like, well, the problem is with the 1.1 page needs to have this title tag. The 1.1 page needs this new copy, right?
Right.
But it also indicates architecture and hierarchy.
Right, like almost like if you were taking notes, you would have your top topic, which would be 0, and then your first bullet, and then a sub-bullet would be 1.1.
Correct.
You're
so smart.
I did have Dave had a question about the slugs on that document. He said the categories are in the slug. He wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, so I want this resource. I want Google to know that the content marketing strategy page is a nested page inside of this page. So this page will feel like this page, based on the way that I set up the URL structure, will be clearly the most important page out of this silo. And the funny thing is, it will have less words on it than really any of the other pages. And it's the page that everything's pointing at. Like, everything's going to be going, pointing its links back up to this page. And so, yeah, I want the URL structured on to indicate that these second level pages are nested inside of this important 0 page. If you want to learn more about this stuff, guys, there's a whole execution plan inside of Lab called How to SEO a WordPress Website. And it starts out with talking about, wait a minute, let me find this. It starts out by talking about different things that you could be doing that are hurting your website, from misuse of your robots.txt file, and creating all kinds of problems technically with your site. That's your 11-point SEO health check. But Make Your SEO Plan is all about siloing. Build your silo, understanding content hubs, all of this stuff. All of this stuff is about siloing. All right, one more question, and then we'll call it, because I know you guys are also busy. But what else have we got here?
We had one earlier from Dave. It was, what about using other people's videos as resources embedded into your blog?
So one of the things that what is YouTube for? I mean, if you're using YouTube or Vimeo and they've got a great supporting video for your audience, and it's good UX for them, there's nothing copyright. There's no copyright issues with it. I mean, YouTube is designed, if they have not turned off the ability for you to embed that thing on your blog, then you absolutely can do that, and you should be encouraged to do it. One of my favorite post types, when I talk about not pillar posts, but creating content with speed, is just finding a good video that your audience would like. So it's good content. And then writing a reaction to that video underneath it in text. So you add some text to the page. So you have a great video that comes from someone else, some other brand, some other person. And then you embed that and react underneath it. I call it the embed reactor. And you can build a post like that in 10 minutes. You find a good video, you embed it, you write a quick reaction to it. And the reason you do that is to get some text on the page, and that's good for search, but also just so that you're not just saying like, hey, whoever I embedded here is smarter than me. So in any case where you need people to believe that you are the authority, a lot of times it's good to find videos that you disagree with. But also, even if you just agree and you just like want to add something to what was said in the video or done in the video or demonstrated in the video, an embed reactor is a great page or a great post type. But yeah, I mean, adding multimedia into your post is a good thing to do, and it's fine to embed somebody else's stuff. That's what YouTube is. So if they leave the embed codes on their thing, whether they know it or not, they're uploading to a video sharing site, and so you can absolutely use that. All right. Well, if we have more questions, I really want you guys to be in the Lab Elite channel starting now and through Elite Critiques, and even after that, all the way up to 11.3. Remember what I said yesterday. One of the best lessons Ryan Dice ever taught me is throw a dart. Make it happen. Get something done, right? Let's get it done. So if I can, one more time, just inspire you to, you signed up for this webinar, you signed up for this execution cycle, you clearly want to write a pillar post, so do it. Write that post, even if it's not perfect, even if you don't have every answer, even if you don't have all green lights in front of you, get something down, get something out there to the world, and let us help you look at it, you know. Get in there and post. And guys, don't just use the Lab Elite channel to post your own stuff. Look at other people's stuff. Almost think of it as every time you help somebody, you could feel good to go and ask for help. But make sure that you're in there also giving help and not just asking for it. Every one of us is good at different things, and that's what makes these communities strong, is when you get in there and you give your advice, but you also ask for it. So this was fun. Thank you, Kevin.
Absolutely.
Thank you to everyone that got on here. And I'll talk to you guys next week during Elite Critiques. Get out there and kick some butt. Woo, some content butt. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.